There has never been a more crucial time in the history of humanity. When I look out at this view and I see all the trees and all the biodiversity, I think to myself, I'm doing this for you. I'm fighting for you. Because I know that it's only going to get harder for all of these species. It's only going to get hotter. There's going to be more droughts. There's going to be more fires if we continue on our current trajectory. So I'm fighting for you. I know that I don't exist without you. And I know that there has never been a more crucial time in the history of humanity to fight for what you care about. Because my individual actions could determine whether entire species that we've shared a common ancestor with and that have existed on this planet for 3.8 billion years will continue existing or not.
We should all feel this kind of emotion about our planet. She's the only one we've got. So please don't flip the channel. This is the most important story I can report on, and I think I report on a lot of very important stories. Hi, my name is Suri Crowe, and you're watching MeidasTouch Network. I can never understand why our burning planet isn't the top news story every day on every network. Y'all want to hear about Trump slurring or falling asleep and whatever. And yes, Trump is a huge part of the problem, a symptom of out of control, late stage capitalism and greed. But when Trump dies, and he will sooner than later, we are still going to be here on a planet that is quite literally like she's gasping for breath. She's saying help. Where I am on the East Coast, we are still lingering under a sweltering heat wave that has smothered us for the last week and a half or so, following the deadly, and I mean deadly, heat wave that swept Europe.
This morning, the death toll keeps climbing due to the brutal heat wave gripping Western Europe. In Spain, nearly 500 people are thought to have died, according to an estimate by public health experts. In France, at least 55 have now drowned trying to cool off. From Germany to Italy, some scientists say the stifling heat wave gripping the region is the most severe ever recorded. These are unprecedented times, said the French president. The extreme heat also taking a toll on animals, from pets to farm animals. In the French capital, some tourists have reached a breaking point.
We are actually going to leave a little early because it's too hot.
With dozens of cases of cardiac arrest, emergency cooling baths have been set up for people with sunstroke. And to ease the pressure on Paris hospitals close to a breaking point, authorities are heavily restricting alcohol consumption.
And you know what? This is going to be the coldest summer that any of us will ever have, according to the science, at least if we don't turn things drastically around.
The planet is now warmer than it has ever been in modern human history, basically since the agricultural revolution 10 or 12,000 years ago. We're already outside the window of temperatures that enclose the entire history of human civilization, and we're warming more rapidly than the planet has ever warmed in its history, including periods where warming produced deaths of 50 to 90% of all life on Earth. So we're running a pretty radical experiment, and things are changing pretty rapidly. Just over the last couple of decades, we've seen the pace of warming accelerate, and we've seen the chances of heat waves like the one that we saw in Europe grow as much as 100-fold more likely. So just since the 2003 heat wave, which killed tens of thousands of people in Europe, a heat wave like the one that we just saw in Europe has gone 100 times more likely. There are a lot of questions about why we haven't prepared adequately for these heat waves, and we should be asking them and doing more to protect ourselves in the future. But I think the baseline observation that we have to make is that things are moving incredibly quickly, and that makes it incredibly hard for us to change our ways.
And fossil fuel companies, they knew exactly what they were doing, and they did not give a fuck. In 1982, Exxon's own internal research predicted that fossil fuel CO2 emissions would double by 2060, raising the global temperature by at least 2 degrees Celsius. In 1988, a confidential report by Shell estimated the increase in temperature would happen twice as fast. Okay, so what that means is that this is man-made. These are not things that happen naturally. This is all man-made causes, with temperatures increasing 2 degrees Celsius by 2030. It is also confirmed that Shell had been commissioning research into the greenhouse effect as early as 1981. Y'all, so they knew. And by the way, that information comes from Greenpeace UK. And for those of us who operate in a Fahrenheit system, because we're weird in America and don't do, measurements the way the rest of the world does, 2 degrees Celsius is almost a 40-degree difference in Fahrenheit. That's huge in just 40 years, 45 years or so 40 years. I don't know. That's huge. And then meanwhile, the big oil CEOs are just continuing to get richer and richer, as well as Trump and his cronies. These 5 CEOs of big fossil fuel companies made more than $70 million personally, while their companies raked in record profits. They are making record profits all of this time. It is so gross. We have got to get away from fossil fuel dependence, which many other countries around the world are doing. Just here in America, Trump is taking us backwards. And then this extraordinary heat wave in Asia, record heat not ending, minimums at 35 and 40 degrees Celsius, which is really hot at high elevations in Iran and Pakistan. Beating world records, you guys. I mean, ice is melting on ice caps around the world that have been there for millions of years. Just tragic stuff. And then Juan Bordera says this, they are no longer forecasts, models, theories. It's reality. We are going to experience an El Nino unlike any other in recorded history. And then he goes on to say, the incredible thing about this graph, which is looking at sea surface temperature changes from 1982 to 2026, if you're listening and not watching, you can come back and look at this later. The incredible thing about this graph is only surpassed by how incredible it is that practically no news outlet will feature it. Well, I can tell you this from working inside the news industry for so long and seeing what's happening with all of these M&As, mergers and acquisitions under the Trump regime. News outlets are primarily owned and operated by big corporations, so pro-capitalist or Zionists who are pro-war and all in on capitalism and destruction. 2 things that are at odds with climate rescue. The Pentagon, our U.S. military, does extreme damage to our planet. So why would billion-dollar government contractors want to help Mother Earth? Goes against their business model. Israel is constantly bombing the fuck out of every nation around it, so they're not interested in climate rescue. They're just busy blowing shit up. So it comes down to us. We have to be the ones who care. No one is coming to rescue us or our planet. It has to be us. Then you've got the Trump regime, which is in bed with the chemical industry. Trump regime recently having approved more toxic chemicals, 3 more forever chemicals. So much for Maha. What a joke. And then, of course, the Supreme Court recently gave Bayer, the company that makes glyphosate, immunity from lawsuits for poisoning and killing people. We know that glyphosate causes cancer. We know this. And the Supreme Court was like, that's okay. You guys go right ahead and do that. We're going to give you immunity. What the actual F? And our National Forest Service is spraying this shit over millions of acres of our national forests. Here's Mother Jones reporter.
Most countries don't use anywhere near the amount of glyphosate that we do.
This is Congresswoman Shelley Pingree. I sat down with her following our investigation into glyphosate and its rapid growing use in forests around the country.
Turns out their plan is also to spray thousands of these burnt acres with glyphosate, namely Roundup.
She has sent a letter demanding answers to the U.S. Forest Service about its use of Roundup and other glyphosate-based products.
First off, I sit on the committee that has oversight of the Forest Service. They're not talking to us about this. And we have had so many meetings about, wildfire cleanup, rebuilding the forest, economic reuse of burned forests. I can't tell you how many times.
And what are your concerns with glyphosate?
Well, I have huge health concerns. They've settled, tens of thousands of claims. They just agreed to some other, big settlement, yet they're spending all their time trying to get immunity from ever having to settle a health claim again. If it was healthy, they wouldn't need immunity. There is a growing movement of people who are deeply concerned about this. As you know, Americans overall, the polling data is huge, very bipartisan. People are just worried about toxics and chemicals in their water, in their food, in their clothing.
Matters so much who we send to Washington and to our state legislatures. You guys, elections have consequences on our lives. on the food we eat, on where we go hiking in the forest. I don't want to hike in a forest covered in fucking poison.
This is absolutely insane. This area was sprayed with all the shit and glyphosate. That's Roundup. May 26th. That's right above the Zigzag River right there. That flows into our drinking water. This is so bad. Botanist. How are you going to claim you're a botanist when you're spraying chemicals into our forest? Lynn, you're definitely getting a call from everyone.
The climate crisis isn't an unstoppable disaster. It is a choice.
Well, that was the most alarming thing I've ever read. 380 of the world's leading climate scientists were asked how much do they expect our planet to warm by the end of this century. And almost 80% of the respondents said that they are expecting at least 2.5 degrees Celsius of warming. And almost half are anticipating 3 degrees Celsius. Many of these scientists said they are expecting a semi-dystopian future with famine and conflict and mass migration driven by unforeseen extreme weather. One even said that within the next 5 years they're expecting major societal disruption. And another said, buckle up, this is only the beginning. Now, I can guarantee that this is filling you with despair. It would be strange if it wasn't, but I cannot stress enough that these futures expected by these climate scientists are not set in concrete. They are based on the continued failings of the governments to act accordingly. So the truth really is that the antidote to despair is action. So
love what he wraps up with there. The antidote to despair is action. Yes. I believe people get overwhelmed, so they just tap out. They're like, it's too much. I'd rather see Trump sleeping. Okay, well, what good is that doing? A pebble dropped in a lake makes 100 ripples. It has a lasting effect all the way across that lake. So when you take action, you're doing something that's going to ripple out. So what can you do? Start speaking with your circle of friends and family. Climate crisis isn't something that people get to believe in, like the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus. It's real. Like the earth is round, not flat. So get with the facts. This is our reality now. Those in power are not going to give up or leave willingly. So we have to be part of the resistance. Join up with the Greenpeace or Sierra Club or the Center for Biodiversity, which are all fighting the Trump regime in court, as the Trump administration is absolutely gutting environmental protections. I mean, gutting. I follow this topic very closely. And so we have these organizations that are fighting back in court, and it matters. So join up with them, fund them, then starve the climate beast. Stop shopping with destructive monsters like Amazon. Divest your money from fossil fuels stocks. So many stocks are like totally in bed with big fossil fuel companies. Stop. Take your money out of there. Why drive their stock up when they're literally destroying the air and the water that we breathe? You know, same with banks. Be mindful where you put your money and where you put your hard-earned, your own capital. Be a mindful shopper. Do not buy fast fashion. For fuck's sake, stop that. It is made out of fossil fuel stuff. You know that fast fashion is just crap. So get out of Shein and Temu and whatever the flip else. Get out of consumerism. We don't need all this shit. We really don't. They have forced us into believing that we need every new thing that we see, driving that consumerism, leaving us with nothing to show for it, but trashful heaps of fast fashion clothes, dumped in landfills somewhere. We have to stop. And then join a collective, learn about indigenous ways to farm. One of my neighbors has a beautiful garden, just incredible stuff. Like, Donk and I go down there. He likes to eat some of her veggies, and she grew some beautiful lettuce earlier this summer. Start to learn how to maybe grow your own produce. Stop eating meat. Come at me. I am prepared for this. Oh my God. Big ag is one of the main drivers of climate change, guys, of climate destruction. The big ag industry is terrible. On top of this could be a whole video, so I'll just keep it short. Really, stop getting food, stop getting fish from commercial fishing. It's destroying our oceans and big ag. Cattle they're polluters. The methane, their poop destroys the air, the land, our waterways. Hard pass, dude. I did it. I grew up out west on steaks and burgers. If I can give that up and give up commercial fish, you can do it too. I don't miss it. Whenever I'm craving a burger, I just grill up an Impossible Burger and it's delicious and I don't miss eating beef. And I know that I'm helping this earth that I care about so much. And then lastly, stop voting for pro-Israel big tech lawmakers. We have got to clean out Congress from those who continue to enable this planet destruction. And we can do it, but 'tis going to take a massive effort. Look what the folks in Albania are doing and Hungary. I think we're so complacent in America. We're like, scroll, Netflix and scroll. I'm guilty of it too. But nothing is going to change if you and yours sit on your ass and pretend like it's not happening. It's not happening. And then meanwhile, the summers get hotter, more people get sick, more people die, our water gets dirtier. It has to be us that stops it.
I am not being extreme. I know the science. And I know where we're heading. And I know what's already happening. And I know that I can have a big fucking impact. And I know that if I inspire more people to take some more responsibility for our situation and sit with this feeling that we can determine whether species continue to exist or not. So I'm going to sit here with that feeling. And I'm going to look out at this view.
That guy's name is Jules Tate. Head over to his Instagram account. He even has a survey that you can take for why people disengage from climate action. I'd love to know as well. And then in the description below this video, I'll attach a link to progressive candidates who are running for Congress right now. Please follow my socials. I talk a lot about who we can put in our House legislature as well as Congress. Thank you for caring, for sharing this information, please, and for taking action. It really matters. Peace and healing to Mother Earth.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasTouch.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.